All right, this episode is titled Feet of Clay, Part 1. It came out on September 8th, 1992, directed by Dick Sabast, story by Michael Reeves, Martin Pascal, and Marv Wolfman. And it was written by Marv Wolfman as well. And animation by ACOM Productions. We got another ACOM episode. It's featuring Kevin Conroy as Batman and Bruce Wayne, Efren Zimbalist Jr. as Alfred, Ed Asner as Roland Dagget, Ed Begley Jr. as Germs, Mary Devon as Summer Gleason, Dick Gautier as Teddy, Brock Peters as Lucious Fox, Scott Valentine as Raymond Bell, and Ron Perlman as Matt Hagen and Clayface.
I knew that was Ed Asner. I was like, that's got to be Ed Asner, right?
Oh, yeah, it's total JJ, and Elf and such. So we got honorable mentions here. We got director Dick Sabast has been credited previously on this podcast in the Cat and the Claw Part 2 episode, so go back to listen to his creds there. We've also got story writers Michael Reeves and Martin Pascal have also been credited on this podcast already. Michael Reeves for Pretty Poison and Martin Pascal for See No Evil. Marv Wolfman, who wrote both Part 1 and Part 2 of these Clayface episodes, is also known for being the co-creator of so many comic book characters, way too many to list them all. But to name a few, he co-created Cyborg, Raven, Nova, the Black Cat, Deathstroke, Bullseye, Blade, Tim Drake, the Teen Titans, and Nightwing.
I've never heard of any of those characters. So, good job, Marv Wolfman.
Yeah, way to go. Why would you make a wolf character with your name being Wolfman?
Well, why don't you create someone like Batman, huh? Can you list all the characters that I've created for the Marvel and DC universe?
Is this a quiz for me right now? Oh, do you know what, dude? I mean, you've recreated looks of some of the characters, like the Great Lakes Avengers, haven't you?
But I have created characters for the Marvel.
Was there a guy with like drills for hands? Pitchforks for hands? See, I remember that one. It's the most random thing. I think that's where my knowledge of your creations end.
I created the Red Bomber for the Batman universe.
Oh, yeah.
Famous character
that's going to appear any day now in a movie.
I created a character I forgot the name of in the Great Lakes Avengers. That was the villain with the devil mask.
Oh, yeah, you did. That's right. He was a cool villain. Yeah.
Pitchfork Monster, I think his name was. I also created him.
Wasn't he called like Fork Hands or something?
Yeah, get forked. He said a lot of forky puns.
Yeah.
Holy forking shit. Something like that.
They allowed shit.
Who else? I created Union Quack. I created.
That's cool. That's a good one.
The Union Jack Spider-Ham version.
Yep.
And plenty more,
So, Marv Wolfman, who are you compared to Will Robson and his amazing creations?
Yeah, my characters are on posters in children's bedrooms, all right? And action figures made, and people dress up. Like, do you know how many people come to my booth at Comic-Con dressed as Pitchfork Monster? Which I don't even know sure if that's the name of the character or not. Do you?
That's amazing. If someone came up and they're like, I'm Pitchfork Man. You're like, that's not his name.
Look, I've done a lot. I'm very famous, and I create great stuff.
Yeah, Marv Wolfman should be coming to you for ideas.
He really should.
Yeah. So, also, he wrote the Menace of Mysterio episode for Spider-Man the Animated Series, plus episodes of Transformers, G.I. Joe, RoboCop, Reboot, and loads more.
Look, I'm tired of hearing this guy's crap resume, all right?
Just so anyone doesn't realize, he is being very sarcastic.
He's an amazing creator.
I mean, Nightwing, that's amazing as well.
Yeah,
like,
it's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. Actor creds here. We got Brock Peters as Lucious Fox, who's been credited previously on this podcast in the episode review of See No Evil. Then we got Ed Asner, who plays Roland Dagget. He's also known as the voice. I hardly what?
No.
Ed Asner, who plays Roland Dagget, is also known as the voice of J. Jonah Jameson on Spider-Man the Animated Series, Johnny's stepdad in Cobra Kai, Carl Fredricksen in Up, and Santa in Elf. So yeah, some great stuff.
It's not free candy.
And he sadly passed away a few years ago, but he's got an amazing voice. So yeah, I really enjoyed hearing him in this episode.
Probably one of my favorite voices ever, like voice acting.
It's very distinct, isn't it?
Yeah, love the tones, the way he just when he goes, oh yeah, like the.
It's I don't even know what it reminds me of, like that type of tone, because it's almost like I don't know. It's like steel, like on steel. It's like metal, but it's not rusty. It's just it's just hard, and you're like that's a man, right?
That's
there.
a man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's the same as one of Bill Murray's brothers who plays. He's in Christmas Vacation as the boss, and he's also in one of the Wayne's Worlds. It's fun, it's hip, it's Noah's Arcade. That guy. He also has a great speaking voice.
That was very good. I love that. That's a great line for me to exactly know who you're talking about. He does have a great speaking voice. I did not know he was one of Bill Murray's brothers. I think you told me that, and I forgot about that fact already.
I remember saying to my wife, don't you think that guy looks a bit like Bill Murray? And she was like, no. And then I remember years later, I found out, I was like, it's actually Bill Murray's brother. And I told her the story, see? And she's like, I don't remember that conversation at all. I'm like, it just drove me nuts. And then there was also another guy on Mad Men where I was like, he looks a bit like Bill Murray's brother. And I looked it up, and he was Bill Murray's brother.
How many brothers does this guy have?
He's got 5.
Wow. And they're all acting?
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy. He's just at the tippy top. You don't even have the right to use Murray as your surname.
They use Murray as their surnames.
Did they? I was wondering if that was his real name or if it was his stage name, because sometimes you don't know people are related because one uses their real surname and other people use a stage name.
You know what? So. I'm not 100% sure. So.
There we go. All right, and we'll never know. Moving on. Okay, we got Ed Begley Jr. here also, who plays Germs. Ed Begley Jr. is known for playing Charlie Collins in the episode Joker's Favor, which we'll get to. So the guy that, we'll see him in part 2, but he opened the door with the handkerchief. Did you see that? He works for Roland Dagget.
The little mustache.
The little mustache guy. He's also known for playing Fred Stickley in Batman Forever. Back to work, Edward! He's that guy that one gets pushed off into the waterfall. He also plays Hiram Gunderson in 6 Feet Under. I put that in there because you have seen that show, so I don't know if that rings a bell.
Hiram Gunderson.
He was in a few episodes. He's also Robert in Pineapple Express. He's Clifford Maine in Better Call Saul. He's Aaron's biological father in The Office.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about now.
Yep. And he's also Dr. Winnaker in Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes.
He's in the Accidental Text and the Ugly Section episodes, because you're always like, what episodes of Curb? There we go. So he plays Germs and will also play Charlie Collins in Joker's Favor when we get to it. Then we've got Dick Gautier, who plays Teddy. He's also known as the voice of Rodimus Prime in Transformers. Serpentor.
Who the hell is Rodimus Prime?
I don't know. It's his brother. No one knows. I am Optimus Prime, and this is my brother.
I am Rodimus Prime. I'm Jeff Prime. It's like, I can transform into a guy who's looking for a job.
It just Rodimus sounds like when they were naming him, they're like, Optimus Prime, yeah, that sounds great. Then they had a second kid and they weren't expecting, they're like, Rodimus, whatever. Just doesn't matter. He's not going to be the cool one. He also plays Serpentor in G.I. Joe Action Force, Brimstone in GoBots, and Jaime in the Get Smart TV show in the 60s or 70s, I think. Then we got 60s, okay. And then finally, we've got Ron Perlman, who plays Clayface and Matt Hagen. Ron Perlman is known for playing Hellboy in the Guillermo del Toro films. He also plays Clay in Sons of Anarchy. I was like, Clayface? Whoa. And then he also plays Reinhardt in Blade 2. Obviously, he's been in countless other films and TV shows, but for us, those are the ones that, like, you and me know him for the most. But we all know who he is. He's an amazing actor.
He's also super known for being, like, the villain in Afro Samurai, right?
I've never seen that.
That's with Sam Jackson, right? Sam Jackson versus Ron Perlman. And I know Ron Perlman's in a ton of anime as well. He's got to get when he does that voice.
Right.
And
I've not seen those either.
Known for tons and tons of stuff. I recently saw the movie Drive, and he was in that as a villain, which was very good.
That's true. Yeah, he was in that movie. Yeah,
and he's also in a lot of other stuff that's not very good.
Yeah,
but he is amazing.
He's in so much stuff. He played Beast in the Beauty and the Beast TV show in like the 80s. I didn't even know it existed.
Breakout role, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. All right, so let's get into our utility belt of fun facts here. We got the title of this episode is a play on the biblical phrase feet of clay, which is in the Bible it's spelled F-E-E-T. In this it's spelled F-E-A-T, as in a play on featuring, like an actor featuring.
Right.
But in the Bible, it's called feet of clay because it's used to indicate a weakness or a hidden flaw in the character of a respected person. So that is Matt Hagen.
I thought they were like, all right, we got an episode here for Mr. Freeze. I know, we'll call it Heart of Ice. Oh, that's great. Love that. All right, what about Clayface? Feet of clay? Clay feet? Really? All right, well, we'll put that as a placeholder for now. Wait, you released that episode and called it Feet of Clay?
They start doing that with like all the villains. They're like, the penguin's pointy beak. You're like, what?
Mouth of teeth. That could be anybody.
Boobs. it's just like Poison Ivy or something.
It's just Penguin again.
Just going down its body. Oh, that's brilliant.
Skin of Scales. Who's that?
Killer Croc.
Yay, well done, buddy.
That was, it's actually, it's kind of fun. It's like a little Riddler
I don't
thing.
think it's that fun.
Yeah. Okay, the look of the Imperial Pictures lot was designed after the Warner Brothers studio lot in Burbank, California. So I thought, California, that it looked very much like the Warner Brothers studio lot, and that's what they were going for. The Clayface of the show is a combination of the first two Clayfaces in the books, in that the original Clayface was an out-of-work actor looking for revenge, and like the second, he was named Matt Hagen. So they just kind of combined both of those into one character. When discussing ACOM's involvement in part 1 of this episode, Bruce Timm recalled, this was the first episode done by ACOM's C team of animators, and it really bummed us out when it first came in. That show probably had more retakes than any other episode, nearly completed, redone 2 or 3 times before we could actually air it without cringing. So...
That looks great, though.
I thought it looked good. My only thing that I did pick up is that the animation, the fight scene at the beginning, everyone was super slow in that fight scene and that like that tram station or whatever. It seemed like everyone was like walking towards each other like Swamp Thing or like the creature from the Black Lagoon. They were all kind of like awkwardly. There's even a moment where Batman gets leg tripped by germs because he like fakes him out. And then Batman just lays there and like kind of like rests and looks at him for a while. And I'm like, get up. Like he's just like, I can't believe that just fucking happened. Some more facts here. According to director Kevin Altieri, who directed part 2 of Clayface or Feet of Clay, Matt Hagen and Teddy were in a relationship. And I think that's fairly obvious by watching the episode. But the 90s were a different time, man, and cartoons, they weren't going to obviously put that in, like they would probably put it in today, but I think that's pretty cool that they did that, and that works because then you understand more why Teddy cares about Matt and his addiction and wanting to help him and stuff, because he's in love with him, or he's in a relationship with him. This two-parter is similar to the Two-Face two-parter, being that in this part 1, the story is focused around a public figure with a troubling secret. Before his transformation, the main villain's secret is known by a powerful criminal who could easily destroy him. And part 1 ends with the main villain looking into a mirror and screaming in horror upon seeing what he has become. Clayface, Two-Face, both similar? Both in sounding of names? Both faces?
Taking the words right out of my mouth.
Both faces?
They both have faces, yes.
When speaking on this episode's score, Shirley Walker would say, it was a demanding score. Story-wise, there was so much going on. I was so proud of it that I submitted it for Emmy consideration, and that's the one I got a nomination for.
Nice. You know what I just thought of, since we were talking about Two-Face? What if someone stuck that clay on Two-Face's burned up side of face and molded it back into Harvey Dent temporarily for 24 hours?
I totally agree. I know that it has an addictive property, which is obviously why it hasn't gone to market. But, I mean, hell, there's been so many addictive properties that have just been approved by the FDA and just, like, sent out there. I'm surprised that Roland Dagget even cared about all of this and wasn't just like, I'm going to be a billionaire with this. I've got a product that can fix people's scarred faces, or they can mold it into whatever they want to look like.
I have a giant wiener now. I mean, that'd be the first thing you use, right?
Yeah, how many people are going to
Or women just like enhancing their butts and boobs and stuff. Everyone would just be walking around looking ridiculous.
Yeah, it would be endorsed by so many celebrities.
Except for fat people. We're like, well, we can't clay away the fat.
They're like, you already got enough clay on you already. You're like, oh.
There'll be some people that are like, oh, look, I'm like fat for the day. It's like, oh, for the day, are we? That's fun.
That's true. The cream could not do any of that. You couldn't morph abs, could you? You can't move that around.
Well, you could. You just have abs on the big fat stomach, which would be very strange. I guess you could make as a man, you can make your your arms look more muscly and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, you could probably slap on a bunch of like,
and you just be like, oh, I've got a big belly because I'm a world's strongest man trainer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because they've all got quite like bloated stomachs, don't they?
Yeah, because they eat like
lifting
80,000 calories a day.
It's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I totally agree. Like, Two-Face could have used that to go back to Harvey Dent.
Well, there's that great. There's a mini comic that Bruce Timm made where he gets his face surgically fixed, and in the end,
he recreates it. Yeah. It's crazy. He's being manipulated, or he falls in love with a girl that's a twin. And I think one of the twins die, and the other one like loves him, but he doesn't love her. Kind of like Sin City with Marv and what's her name? What's the
Goldie.
Character's name? Goldie.
She says her name is Goldie.
Yeah,
the night is hot as hell. It's me every summer night when I'm laying in bed. I'm staring at a goddess. It's my wife snoring into the pillow.
She tells me she loves me. So yeah, going back to the music, Shelley Walker said it was very demanding, but she got nominated for an Emmy. I think it's incredible, the music in this episode.
Yeah, but you know what's still stuck in my head is that fucking casino song from the last episode. I think that's what it was.
We're on a cruise ship gambling, yeah. Yeah, it was very good.
Take a cruise ship and I'm gambling and having a good time.
But yeah, the classic I'm Clayface, I'm Clayface. You started doing that to all of the songs from this, whatever character the music was written for. And whenever I hear the Clayface song, I can't help but sing I'm Clayface when I hear it. But I also really love the B theme where it's like dun 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 bam 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 bam. I love that kind of like dramatic, like dark score to that. I really like that, especially when he became Clayface and he sees himself in the mirror and you hear that. So yeah, I think it's a really good piece of music. So yeah, that leads me to just asking you about this episode as a whole. What did you think of it?
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid,
super noir vibes, right?
Yeah, big time noir vibes, especially like right at the start. You've got Bruce Wayne. I know it's not really Bruce Wayne, but he's in this like fedora and trench coat, and I was like, "You look good. You look like film noir detective. Like you're going to start narrating like your every thought."
Yeah, absolutely. Us. Except Lucious Fox was kind of blowing up his spot. He was like, Bruce Wayne, and he was like, "Mate, I'm obviously in disguise here. Like I've got the trench coat and the hat. Like keep it down." "Oh, sorry, Bruce Wayne."
Do you remember any part of this episode, or did you instantly know that it was not Bruce Wayne, or did it take you a little while?
I didn't know at first, but it became quite clear when he turned into a villain that it wasn't Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, when he's just like, "I'm accepting your resignation, Mr. Fox."
I don't remember Lucious Fox looking like David Walliams from Come Fly With Me.
But when he's doing the flight attendant?
Yeah, exactly. The flight attendant from Come Fly With Me.
He does kind of look like that, which is terrible. Yeah, I mean, we've seen Lucious Fox already in See No Evil, but as we know, even though that episode was produced long after this, it had to go in the place of a cancelled episode. Mm-hmm. So we've seen him, but this is the first time he's ever been drawn for the show, timeline-wise for the animators.
I was like, you're not Morgan Freeman.
No, I don't know how I feel about the look of Lucius in this, But he's got a strong mustache game going on. There was a lot of strong mustache games going on in this episode. Did you see those two police officers when they came in to break up the fight? One had this thick fucking red mustache that looked like a slug, and the other one had this like pencil thin one that was like hanging down, and then they like ran up to Lucious and he's got a mustache, and I was like, these are the mustache boys. They're like they're in it together.
Do you think like everyone's like really impressed with like Gordon as the commissioner, and they're like, I want to be as cool as him? Or maybe it's like, all right, everybody, it's Movember here, so you got to start growing out your tash, and the whole police squad starts growing out tash.
But yeah, they ain't got a strong mustache game like Gordon. As your wife said, Gordon can get it.
That's right.
So going back to the animation, I felt like the fight scene could have been better. Everyone was a bit sluggish. There was a lot of leg kicking in this episode as well, like baby leg kicking, like I'm a grumpy child and I'm not getting my way. Like the thug hanging from that catwalk I was like, just let go, mate. You're only like 6 feet above the ground. Or when the two goons were holding down Hagen in the lab, he was kicking his legs like a baby as well, trying to get out. So yeah, I thought that was just a funny choice. And then later on, we see him again pretending to be Bruce, and he's in like a bright blue suit. And I was like, it's very odd seeing Bruce in like something that's not his classic like mustard yellow and brown threads, Like I was like, damn, he's in like a blue turtleneck and like grey trousers at the end when he's arrested. And I was like, you look like the dude that helps Tintin or whatever, like Captain Haddock. Like he dresses like that.
I think he was wearing that outfit because he was like obviously like climbing up the side of the
building,
hospital and stuff like that. So it's just like it's kind of like when he first became Batman. He had like the
jumper and like the balaclava and stuff. Yeah, I think the blue turtleneck comes back in Perchance to Dream as well. Another one where he's scaling a building. So maybe that is his scaling the building outfit that he only wears when he's scaling buildings. And he's not
spelunking top.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought Bruce looked good in this episode in different threads. There are all these. So at the beginning, there are all these sharpshooters in the abandoned tram station trying to shoot Lucious, and they kept on missing. Lucious, and they kept missing. But then one guy shoots two thin bits of rope holding up a platform sign, and I can't
hit a moving target, especially one that's slightly overweight. But two tiny, thin little threads that fall and land on him at the exact right time. No problemo. Got that all day.
Yeah. And I was like, just shoot him. Like, what?
Just shoot the guy.
Yeah. My love that Batman moment for this episode is when one of the sharpshooters hears the police scanner mention their location and they say, let's finish this fast before we have the law on our necks. And then you just hear, too late, dirtbag, like echoing out. And I was like, God, that's just such a great Batman line. I love when Batman calls goons dirtbags. Like, it's such a great sounding insult that's not a swear word.
Bag of dirt.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, with Teddy and Matt, we first meet them in their trailer. What did you think of that whole sequence, like with Ron Perlman's acting, with like his desperation, and we get a load of character development very quickly for Matt Hagen in that moment as well?
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, everything is established, their relationship's established. I like that he's like holding out so that he had enough for the day for him and stuff like that. Which makes me think, like, what are you using it multiple times a day then? Like, just like as a quick touch-up or something? But he said, like, it only lasts like 24 hours. Like, I feel like that stuff should last a long time.
Yeah, well, I guess like any addict, you start using it and you start using it more habitually throughout, the time. You might because
build up a tolerance to it.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's some of the best acting we've seen in this show yet is from Ron Perlman in that sequence. I think it was very good. And especially when he turns on him, like, that's such an addict thing. Like, this guy Teddy's trying to help him, and he's like, you're just my stand-in. Like, he's just like, he kind of tries to take control there. So there's that scene where Hagen runs into the lab and, like, just dips his hand in that boiling cream and, like, smears it all over his face. And I was like, how are you not screaming in agony? That thing was boiling. It was bubbling when you grabbed it. And the sound effect was so vivid. It was like, blah, 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 as he like scooped it out. I was like, that's so gross.
Sounds like me after Taco Bell, if you know what I'm saying.
Clayface to Mudbutt.
Poo of Clay is the name of my episode.
What did you think of the Clayface like transformation scene when they were force feeding him and stuff?
It's great. Doing it in the shadow as well.
Yeah, I thought that was very clever of this cartoon where they can be graphic more with shadows on the wall than actually show it.
I like how he's like, come on, let's go take a little like walk or ride. And he's like, I know what that means. And they like broke out to try and get away. I like that because it's not letting kids know like he's going to kill him, but it's just known.
Yes, exactly. I thought Batman switching out noses and hairlines on a 3D face to find a suspect. I just think it's like us creating characters in a video game. We would do the same thing. And then Batman's like just making up faces and names so he can impress Alfred because when Alfred came in, he's like, that's the guy. And I was like, I think you're lying, buddy. Like,
no, I got him.
Sir, I don't think that's him. He's got 3 eyes, 2 noses, 4 lips.
Oh, I've been doing this for a while. Alfred, this is the guy. It's just a picture of Alfred. So that's me. Yeah, you did it. Case closed.
What's for dinner? So I did like how oblivious Batman was, though, to what's going on in Bruce Wayne's life. Like, he didn't even know police had been coming to his door, that Bruce Wayne's wanted in a crime.
Well, it's greatest
like,
my ass.
Yeah, Alfred's like, how many times do you want me to tell the cops that you're not in? Like, and I was thinking, what excuses did Alfred make up to the cops? Like, he's fishing? He's he's painting, he's skydiving, and then like he just sees a bat fly by and he's like, he's Batman. I mean,
he's not in because he is Batman.
So I did notice that what was interesting is everyone had an obsession or like an addiction in this episode. So we obviously had Matt Hagen with the face cream. We had Teddy's obsession was for Matt and helping him get better. We had Bruce obsessed with being Batman that he didn't even know Bruce Wayne was wanted for questioning in a crime. Like he was so absorbed into being Batman. We had Germs, who's obsessed with being germ-free, and he's a hypochondriac. We had Raymond Bell, who's obsessed with listening to his police scanner on his headphones. And we had Dagget, who's obsessed with taking over Wayne Enterprises from inside and stuff and being a criminal. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, they all had their own little obsessions.
The theme of this episode was...
addiction?
Yes.
Yeah. I love how I'm telling you that, and then you turn it around like, I've given you this information.
That's not what I did at all. I pointed to you to finish the sentence.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like quizzing me.
No, but I'm just like, that means that's the theme.
Yeah, I thought that was very cool. Yeah, I love that. So, Batman using a voice modulator to sound like a female officer on the police scanner.
But I loved this part of the story. I thought it was so cool.
I thought it was really cool, but I wonder how often he uses that voice modulator, you know what I mean? Do you think he uses that often, that voice modulator? Do you think he uses its prank call Wayne Manor to keep Alfred on his toes?
I've been catfishing Alfred for years. He thinks he's got some lover in Bangladesh. He calls him every Thursday night. It's just me.
Or he calls and he's like, this is Thomas Wayne. And he's like, oh my God.
I know what you've been saying about my wife's cakes. And I'm here to say, cut it out.
So yeah, what did you think of the Batwing interrogation scene?
Great. Loved it a lot. The Batwing just sounded like a freaking TIE fighter coming down that road. This whole thing felt very Hitchcock, just the way it was all filmed, very cool in the tunnel and him picking him up and the car going away. Batman definitely took it a step too far, but I love it.
He really did, yeah.
Yeah, he was so offended when the guy fainted. He was like, he fainted? Like, that little bitch.
Yeah.
This will wake him up. I'm just going to drop him 100 feet into a swimming pool and hope he hits it.
I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I feel like the Batwing changed size a lot. Like, at one point it's in the sky and it's massive, and the next is quite small to obviously fit in the tunnel, but that's animation, that's fine. But the crane, that is specifically designed, I guess, to, grab a goon's arm, because the way he, took him out the car, and that was so extreme of Batman, to, spear the car.
Same as Batman 89. He had the little scissors to cut the rope of the
That's
balloons.
A good point. Yeah, but that guy's shoulder is definitely dislocated. He's being dragged in the air by his shoulder and his wrist. His wrist is probably going to snap off. Yeah. And then, the moment he faints, Batman's just like, nah, that's done with, and just tosses him. I don't think he even meant to throw him in that swimming pool. I think that just happened to be there. And he's like, oh, he could have died, but whatever.
He died from a fall, not from Batman.
But it was a great interrogation scene, and it was nice to see Batman in an interrogation scene, a proper one where you're like, oh, I can see why the goon would give up information, because that's extremely scary, especially when he's dragging him over the water and he's like making him run on the water. I was like, Batman, you're having a lot of fun today. Like when he figured out that Raymond Bell was the one that he needed to go after, when he figured out the face, do you think he sat in the cave and he's like, how am I going to interrogate this guy? Well, I could, creep up into him in a room and like push him up against a wall and, just do the usual thing. Or I could take the Batwing and I could spear his car into the sky, then remove him from his car with my crane that I don't get to use a lot. And I'm going to drag him around Gotham in the air and across water until he tells me what I want to do. It's such an extreme way to interrogate, which was great.
Oh, it's great.
I think maybe as I'm talking about this, I think you loved this episode a lot more than I did. Like,
I really liked it.
Yeah, I enjoy it, definitely. I think, from memory serves me, I think I enjoy part 2 more, but we'll have to wait till we get to that next week. But yeah, I mean, it's a good episode. Obviously, we've got a lot going on, and that's why it's a 2-parter. And I felt like when we came back to Clayface at the end, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot that Clayface is in this episode, because his accident happened in the middle of the episode, and then we had like the whole Batman interrogation scene and all these other things that happened. But what makes this episode better for me is that end scene where Teddy discovers Matt in the car. I think that's shot really well. I think it's lit really well, especially when he puts his hand on Matt and then it's just like this handprint on his shoulder. I thought that was really well done.
Matt, no.
Yeah, and he's got this like big slimy chunk of clay with yellow eyes now and like old man smoker's teeth, like, and he's just looking in the mirror and screaming as it ends. So yeah, I thought it was a good episode, but I'm looking forward to part 2 because we're going to see Clayface now. And and see that villain fully realized, which I'm looking forward to. All right, so that is the end of the episode. Next week, we are going to review Feet of Clay Part 2, so come back to listen to that.